Okay, I am a stickler for starting on time. So I'm going to jump straight in because I know many of you are going to be watching this replay. Firstly, I just want to welcome you to Camera Ready, the masterclass, the first of my, what I'm calling my $10 masterclasses. And the reason that I have decided to charge for my masterclasses from now on is because there's so much content on the internet and it's very easy for it to get lost. And I've run a lot of masterclasses over the years and they just go, they fall by the wayside. And there's some really great content in there, stuff that, is very, very valuable. And the way that we make something valuable is we charge for it. And when we do that, then people will pay attention. So there's that saying that when people pay, they pay attention. And it's so true. So you have access to obviously this live call and you can ask questions, just drop them in the chat as we go through. And other than that, you're going to have access to this, to the recording. You'll have lifetime access to the recording. And of course, lifetime means as long as I have my website. Okay. So the first thing that I want to talk about is where you want to be. So if we're talking about visibility and showing up as a representative of your brand and wanting to be a leader in your space, it all comes down to visibility. And the reason that we want to be visible is because we want to be where we want to be is we want to be visible to the right humans. So we want to be going out there and holding our flag up high and letting people know who we are and what we stand for so that we can attract the right people into our world. And by us showing up and sharing our message and essentially just being us, then that is going to attract the right people to us. It will repel the people that don't want anything to do with this, which is great, but it will also make us visible to the right humans. The other where you want to be as well is consistently putting out great content that your potential clients love to consume and engage with. We want people loving our information, the way that we share content, because if they're engaging in our free content or our low-end content, then we know that they're very likely to engage in the high-ticket stuff as well. You also want to be confidently showing up as an authority in your space. You'll have noticed there are people that show up online and they just have an air of authority and confidence about them, and you just don't question them. There's just something about them that other people don't have. You want to be that person. You don't want to be the person that's just waffling on and don't really have anything to say, not very confident, and usually very likely to go ahead and delete the post that you've created or the live stream that you've created straight away afterwards anyway. You also want to be someone that your clients think of and seek out. So if you are in my world, as you are, and you are looking for a dose of inspiration, or you're looking to be reminded of something, or if you're looking for something that I teach and you're at home or wherever and you're on your laptop and you're doing some sort of work and you think, oh, I just wish, I'm going to go see what Michelle's up to because I know she's going to give me something that I need. And so I have many people online who think of me and they seek me out when they're looking for inspiration, when they're looking for information. And that's what I want for you too. There was a time when I was live streaming every single day and I would have the same group of people pretty much online the entire time. Okay, so why do you want to be there? Firstly, I know you want to have a positive impact on the world. I know you want to be successful online. I know you want to be respected in your space. You want to make money. That goes without saying. And you also want to be known. If you are in business and you're a coach and you're in the online space, I know that you want to have all of these things. I know you want to be known. You might have reservations and feelings about that, but you want to be known because you want to be known as the person that is, good at this thing or solves this problem or is the go-to person in your niche. we all want these things, and it's okay to want them. So you want to have a positive impact on the world, you want to be successful, you want to be respected, you want to make money, and you want to be known. All of those things are okay. So own each and every one of them. And why is this important? Well, it's important because, well, first, I know from my experience that my clients who are willing to be visible, they do 100 times, 1,000,000 times better than those who aren't. The ones that are hiding out, hiding away, they're not the ones who are successful. The ones who confidently go out there and share their message with the world are the ones who are successful. And it's important because it's part of your job. Like it or not, in our industry, we need to be visible, and content is a big way of selling what it is that we do and educating our audience about what it is that we do. So visibility is actually your job. So you may as well start to enjoy it, and you may as well get good at it. Your content will drive sales and inquiries. Every time you show up, every time you do a live stream, every time you do a post, whether somebody reaches out to you in that moment or not, it's going to be in the back of their mind. And it maybe will take them a little while before they actually take action. But if you stop showing up, you'll drop off the radar. You know, I have had people that were in my world for years before they purchased a single thing. And that first thing was one of my highest ticket offers. But they were lurking and hiding in the background. They weren't liking, weren't commenting or anything like that. But there's one coach in particular who was telling me I'd been on her vision board for 2 years, which is crazy. And she'd found me 5 years before that. So yeah, it will drive sales and inquiries. It's not you do it today and you get all the sales today. It's planting seeds every single day. And if you don't show up, you're losing opportunities. And I always come back to an example of where I had rocked up early accidentally to a Muay Thai class. I got there an hour early, and I just thought, what am I going to do for an hour? It was quite a drive to get there. So I looked at myself in the mirror and I went, oh God, because I just jumped out of the shower, put my hair up, didn't have any makeup on or anything like that. And I went, you know what, I'm just going to hit the live button. And I did a live stream, and I spoke about showing up even when you don't feel like it and things like that. And that prompted somebody to be in my inbox. And by the end of business that day, I'm pretty sure it was that day or the morning after, I think I had something like $19,000 or $20,000 in my account, because that person's like, okay, we need to work together. How much is it? And away we went. So if I hadn't showed up that day, who knows, right? I said the right thing at the right time for that particular client. And that's all it takes. I can remember another private client. She signed on for 4 months on one of my private packages. And it was a written piece that I wrote. And I wrote about misconceptions about my clients. I said, my clients think, you know, the general public seems to think that my clients are, you know, super cashed up. And my favorite clients are corporate. And that's just not true. Like, my favorite clients are the ones that finally get the pennies together to start working with me. And then they're like, here's my money, now let's do this. And, you know, I take that stuff very seriously. If somebody's handing over a lot of money, I take that very seriously, and I want to get them a result. Whereas with the corporate people, I've found that a lot of times there's just no urgency there. So there's not enough skin in the game because they've got the safety net of their corporate job. I like people who are hungry for results. And so I spoke about that. And this particular person went, oh, that's me. It's exactly me. And she signed up. She'd sold a house, had some money sitting there, and invested in me. And so if I didn't write that post, that's another opportunity. So we're talking close to 6 figures with those 2 offers, because that client, the initial client, went on to work with me for a lot longer than the initial cash injection of like 19 or 20. It was 19 something, close to 20. And so that wouldn't have happened. Those 2 sales wouldn't have happened. The other one ended up being about 40,000 US. So converted to, I'm talking close to 6 figures Australian dollars. So that was 2 pieces of content. So we don't show up, we miss opportunities. And it really is leaving money on the table. Super important. And it's important because if you want to be successful in this space, being visible is a must. people can tell you all sorts of sneaky ways around it and, you know, all the rest of it. But honestly, there's no way around it. Like, you need to be visible. It's that simple. I'm just going to bring myself down a bit so you can see. All right. All right. Got to tap on that. So let me go back. Yeah. So if it's important and we know we need to do it, and we know that if we do it, our business is going to be better, why don't we do it? And the reason that we don't do it is because of the resistance. So let's talk about that. The first thing, and if you read my post and if you saw the sales page to this, which you would have, it's how you signed up, you'll know I spoke a lot about conditioning. And it's very interesting. If you haven't seen the post on my Insta, it's also on my profile, my Facebook profile. It's got a picture of my car. And I posted that, and it triggered a huge response, especially in my DMs. And so many conversations went on about, you know, people being fearful of putting that stuff out there. I remember one lady spoke to me about, she went and test drove her dream car and said to her husband, I'm going to drive it to pick up the kids and show them. And he's like, no, don't drive it down our street. Like, the neighbors will see it. I'm like, who cares? And the neighbors are going to see it if you buy it. But, you know, this overwhelming fear of being judged for having too much. And it's just, you know, I've had that too. Definitely have had that. I really struggle to show my stuff. I mean, handbags in the background and stuff like that. I do that because I forget about it. But things like posting, you know, my car and stuff like that, I always have a hard time with that. But not anymore. Like, I'm choosing something different because my brand requires that of me. So the conditioning thing is deep, right? And the conditioning thing can be the other thing that I mentioned on the page, which is, you know, there's so many of us were told when we were little kids, stop showing off. And that I can remember so vividly. My dad told me to stop showing off in front of a whole bunch of people. Like, my mum and dad, I think, were having a party. I can't remember how old I was. I was young though, because my mum and dad were divorced by the time I was 10. And I think I was maybe 6 or 7, maybe 8, something like that. And I wasn't overly confident anyway, but I remember we were at this party and the people that were there, I think my dad played cricket and it was like the cricket club, but it was at our house, and they were great people because they were very engaged with us kids. And so I was like feeling myself, and I was dancing and singing, and I think I don't know, God knows what I was doing. I just must have thought I was pretty good. And my dad came up and said, stop showing off. And I remember just being so embarrassed, and I went to my room and I didn't come out. I wouldn't come out of my room. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I just kind of slunk away because I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. And I remember one of the guys, our bedroom had the wall didn't go all the way to the top. And I remember he had a teddy bear. I don't know where he got it from. And he was every time he walked past, he would let the teddy bear like go across the top. And then he snuck his head in and he's like, don't worry about your dad, you know. And it was so nice of him, but that cut very, very deep. And so, you know, it's something we carry, right? I was so mortified, and we all have experiences like that of some sort. I've got a friend of mine who's gorgeous, very confident, lovely person. And she tells me the story about when she was younger, and she had a hula hoop or something like that. They were doing a hula hoop competition, and she dropped the hula hoop and people made fun of her. And so, you know, that she hung on to that. And there are so many stories, right? Being picked last at frickin' sport or whatever it was. We've all got some sort of conditioning. Maybe the conditioning is more subtle than that. Maybe we just watched the way that our parents interacted, the way that perhaps, you know, in my experience, the way that my father was like making sure my mum wasn't too big for her britches, you know. And I can remember even when I was doing taekwondo and very successful as a competitor, and my instructor looked at me one day after we did some newspaper interviews, and he said, you need to not talk. You need to let me talk. I'm the instructor. They should be talking to me. And I remember I had that exact same moment that I had when I was a little kid, and my dad said, don't show off. And so I could feel myself over the years with this visibility stuff and stretching myself and pushing myself to do it more and more. And when I've started to get into my flow and into my zone, and I start to get a bit sassy, I'm feeling really, really good, and something can happen. And I'm just getting better and better and better at managing my thoughts around that. And I'm going to talk about a couple of like nightmare situations that happened online for me. But, you know, that conditioning runs deep, and we might have a comment, or we might have something that happens that has no relation to anything that happened to us in our past, but we're conditioned to feel a certain way and to be embarrassed or ashamed or whatever it is, right? And that conditioning does run deep. I understand that. But if I can get past that and I can still show up and I can go and manage myself when something doesn't go right, or when I'm feeling like, oh, I'm feeling like people are thinking I'm going to be too big for my britches, or people are thinking that I'm showing off now, or whatever it is, I've got to manage that. Because if we go back to that previous slide, I talk about the fact that this is our job, right? I can't let my dad calling me a show off when I was 6 or 7 or 8 years of age. I can't let a narcissistic ex-husband who wanted to be front and center and wanted me to be, you know, behind him. I can't let that conditioning and those experiences get in the way of me doing my job. And so you will get better at that. So I don't feel like it's that important necessarily to go back and write all of the ways that you've been conditioned not to show up. I mean, if that feels like a useful exercise for you, go ahead and do it. You know, maybe think about what were some triggers for you, and then think about it. So for me, I know I don't have to dig too deep to know that those things are like top of mind, right? Even after years and years and years. And I don't need to go into a healing around that. I just need to have an awareness and make a different decision. This is either going to affect me doing my job or it's not. And then I just make the decision and I just get on with it. It doesn't mean I don't have thoughts and feelings about things, but I just don't let it stop me, and you shouldn't either. One of the other resistances that we have is this comparison thing, right? We think, we see Sally over there who's been doing it for a lot longer than us, and she's just perfect. She's got the perfect website, perfect hair, perfect. And you're over here and you're like, I can't compete with that. And that is overwhelming. It's an overwhelming feeling. And if we go there, if we have that thought of, I can't compete with that, we're screwing ourselves up the butt, like not in a good way, but that is not what we want to do. And we're choosing this, right? We are choosing to compare ourselves and find ourselves lacking. We're doing that to ourselves. And so we just have to make a decision that Sally's doing a great job being Sally. I'm going to do a great job of being me. You don't have to compare yourself to anybody else. It's futile anyway, because we're different. We're all very, very different. And so we don't want to be comparing ourselves. There's no need to do that. So if you're doing that, stop. Just stop doing that. And one thing that I do is I just unfollow everybody. If I see ads coming through my news feed and somebody's freaking ads look better than my ads, I might go noted, and then I click on the little thing that says, don't show me any more of these ads. I'm a human being, and I am a sensitive human being. And if I let everything come at me and it's like, her ads are better than my ads, her website's better than my website, I wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. So for me, ignorance is bliss. So I unsubscribe from everything. I filter everything on my Facebook and on my Insta. I unfollow anyone that's triggering comparisonitis and things like that. And I know always that my power is inside of me. It's not looking outside of me. It's not through comparing or, you know, some people copy other people. It's like, it's not about doing any of that. right? Not about doing any of that. So no comparison. Again, this is a decision. You can control this. It might feel like you can't, but you can control it. And you've got to discipline yourself not to compare yourself. And just remind yourself, use it as the catchphrase. They're doing a great job at being them. I'm going to do the very best job I can at being me. You have no competition. You are it. There is nobody else that can do you better than you. So just come to grips with that, lean into that, and just use that. Use that. The other thing is this fear of rejection, right? What if people don't like us? What if people think we suck? What if people tell us that we don't know what we're talking about? You know, all of that stuff. It's going to happen, right? It's going to happen, especially if you really are being you and you really are sharing your opinions and you really are going all in on your personality, dialing it up a little bit more because the internet requires that, right? It's still you, just dialed up a little bit. And you're going to have people who don't like you. You're going to have people who think you suck. I started a new ads campaign today and I forgot about, because we've just been running ads on Instagram, but now we're running them back on Facebook, both. And I see there's a guy that's gone on there and put a review. Of course, it's somebody without a face. And it's like, oh, this is a scam. I'm like, okay. And I can't remove it because it's a fucking review. And then, but people will know, people will click on this person. It's like, okay, it's just a hater site, a troll site. And then I had somebody else putting angry faces at the, you know, and stuff like that. And then somebody said something else and it's like, oh, this is 3 in one day. And I'm like, oh, it's shaking the tree and they're out in full force. But am I going to stop running ads? No. Am I going to try to manage? I'm not going to argue with anybody on the internet, but I'm going to go maybe delete or hide comments or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, people that we know and people who are going to want to work with us and like us, they're going to know what that's about. You know, that saying that haters are never anybody who are doing, they're not the people that are doing better than you, that's for sure. And so people know that, they understand that. So you're going to have people that don't like you and all that sort of stuff, and that's fine, right? Now, I've been online for a long time. I've been online a lot, and I've put a lot of content out there. I've been live a lot, all those different things. And apart from the 2 instances that I'm going to talk about in a minute, I've had, you know, the odd thing like that where people don't know you and they're just assholes, and that's fine. I don't pay any attention to that. I've had the odd thing, but back in the day when I was doing a lot of content, when I had maybe 1 or 2, my audience just jumped on them and shut them down anyway, so I didn't have to do much. But again, just like the conditioning and the comparisonitis, right? If we don't show up because we're fearing a shitty comment or somebody telling us we suck or we're ugly or whatever it is, or, you know, whatever, right? People can be assholes, especially the faceless ones. We can choose to let that impact us or not, right? And I put my hand up for not, like, no, move on. Like, we're just going to move on. We can block, delete, whatever, if you want to. Move on. Don't engage with the haters. You know, you might have a moment where you're just like, fuck it, and you're going to have cut loose. That's, you know, you do you, right? You do whatever you need to do. That's fine. But the rejection stuff, you know, I know it's real, especially if, you know, conditioning's one thing, and then we also have these other things, right? So if rejection has been a big thing in your life, and fear of rejection is very real, you're going to have to do some work around that, right? And get really clear, though, that faceless assholes on the internet who don't like you, that's not really rejection. They don't know you. They don't know anything about you. They're just scrolling through the internet, dropping bombs. They don't, you know, they'll have forgotten who you are in 2 minutes. So those things don't matter, right? So make sure that you know they don't matter and just treat them as such. But if you have this really deep-seated fear of rejection, you're going to have to do the work, right? You're going to have to do the inner work to get to that place where you don't care, like where you don't care. I guess there's no other way to say it. Or you care like the smallest, you care least enough, you know what I'm saying, to be able to get on with the job of showing up, right? Then there's this other feeling of not good enough. I think everybody has this, right, on some level. And it comes from comparing, and it comes from conditioning, and it comes from, childhoods or ex-partners or all the rest of it, right? But good enough for what? And good enough compared to who, right? Remember, you are going to do the very best job you can of being you, like doing a really good job of being you. And if you don't feel good enough, then that's the work to do, right? And it's not make yourself better. It's like come to grips with all of you. I remember it was quite a few years ago now. We're probably going back at least 10 years, I reckon. And I just had this moment, and I realized that I can focus on all the things that I don't like about myself or make me weird, because I'm a little bit weird. I can focus on all of those things and not show up, or I can think about what are the parts of me that I really like. What are the parts of my personality that I like, other people like, and I want to let shine, and then focus on those. And it's that whole, accept the things that you can't change, right? If you can't, I'm aging, I've got a reasonable size honker. I can't change those things, right? The aging thing, I can have some injectables, but I'm not going to go and get a nose job or anything like that. My face grew into my nose, so it's all right. But if I focused on all of the things, right, I would never show up again. So the thing is, I made the decision to accept what I couldn't change, to change what I could and wanted to change. And that was it. So change what I could and wanted to change, dial up what I felt were the best parts of me, and accept the things that I couldn't change, and then stop thinking about them. Like just move on from them. And that's what we have to do. All right. You don't feel ready. You're never going to feel ready. If you don't feel ready now, you're not going to feel ready tomorrow or next week or the week after or whatever. So none of us ever really, really feel ready. You might have a moment of courage one day and you're like, I think I'm ready. And then you don't do anything about it. And then the next day comes along and then you're like, oh no, I'm not ready. And you're just going to hide for the rest of your life. So the only way to get ready is to do it, right? Make a commitment and just do it. You don't like the way you look or sound and things like that. I hear that all the time. And I had lunch with a gorgeous girlfriend of mine last week. And I remember her crapping on like a couple of years ago. And she's like, I just don't want to show up on video because, the way I look and the way, and I'm like, we all see, like, this is what we see. Like, we know what you look like. Like, you always look like this to us. So it might be a shock to you, even though you've got a mirror, that you look this way. Like, this is how we always see you. So, and this is how we always hear you. And so while we feel like, oh, I don't like the way I look and sound, you're walking around in the real world and people are looking at you all the time and listening to you all the time. That's how you look and sound. So you've got to work with what you got, right? So don't get so self-conscious about how you look, because it's not like suddenly you look different. Like, you've always looked that way, right? It's just that when you're looking at yourself, and normally, we look at ourselves in the mirror and we're like, good, we're good, and away we go. But when you're on video, for example, you're seeing yourself. And so, you just have to accept that that's just the way you look, right? Everybody knows that you look like that. It's not a shock to them. It's not different to them. They're just saying what they always see. So it's you having to manage yourself around that. You don't know what to say and you don't know where to start. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. We've spoken about the haters a little bit. I'm waiting for your comments to drop in while I say, have I missed anything? And I'm not seeing anything there. So I think I've covered everything. But even if I've missed something, right, and you're watching the replay, you know what my answer is going to be, right? It's going to be do the work, like do the inner work you need to do. And also just remind yourself that it's your job. It's your job to do this. So it's something that you're going to want to start to enjoy and you want to start to get good at, and do whatever you need to do to get to that place, right? I'm not unsympathetic. I'm really not. You know, there are people that have been bullied, right? And then they, you know, bullied for years at school or whatever, and they still carry that with them. And so when they get online, they're worried that they're going to be bullied online. I get that. I do. I'm not unsympathetic. But it always comes back to, but it's your job. So you have to find a way to get to the place to be able to do that. All right. Okay. So I'm going to quickly share some horror stories that I had. And I'm not doing this to scare you. I just want to let you know that like shit like this can happen, and like you get to move on, right? So years ago, it would have been 2016, I think this was, I had started to have a lot of success, and I was running my mastermind in Sydney at the Shangri-La in a overlooking the harbour in like one of the penthouse kind of apartments. And so I would go to Sydney every month, and my masterminders would meet me in my suite, and we would sit at the dining table, and that's where we would conduct the mastermind. It was only small. And so every month there I was flying to Sydney and catching, you know, I'd have my driver pick me up and take me to the Shangri-La, and I would eat out, and like I was living my best freaking life that whole year. It was amazing. Well, part of it anyway. And then I remember, so I had the visible signs of success as well. So I had a new car and we moved house and things like that. And like I was really digging it. I was really loving the fact that, oh, I'm bringing my brand to life. Like this is the brand that I always wanted. And I remember there was an old client who didn't get a great result, but she didn't do the work and she went missing halfway through it. And yes, I made her honor her commitment to the program, her financial commitment, because you don't get to change your mind when it's limited numbers. And I was at capacity, and she, you know, signed an agreement essentially. I was doing my part and all of the rest of it. Anyway, I remember sitting in the airport at Sydney, and I remember getting a message, and she's like, oh, it looks like you're doing really well for yourself. And I thought, I think there's a tone. I think there's a tone there. And then sure enough, you know, she was like, I can't even remember what she said, but she's like threatening legal action, and I ripped her off and this and that and all the rest of it. And I did not. Like, I have so much integrity in business, and but it really rattled me a lot. And we went backwards and forwards and all the rest of it. And eventually, you know, I offered to fly to another state to go and spend the day with her. She was in WA, I think, to go and, because she moved. So I offered to fly and spend the day with her, and I offered to like coach her for the modules that she'd missed. Just, you know, it's like, I'm happy to honor, you know, actually go above and beyond because I want you to be happy. And she was like, no, no, no. And I think she'd probably just hit financial problems and just wanted her money back because she didn't do the work and she felt like she'd wasted her money, which she did, but that was not my problem. And so that really rattled me. And on top of that, it was almost like an avalanche, because she started chatting with some other people who did have good results, like people who got like 7-figure results and things like that. But suddenly it was like, we hate Michelle, you know, she's just up herself. She's, you know, buying all the things and she's showing off, and, you know, she's crap at what she does. She's not a good coach and she rips people off. And I had a friend who was sending me screenshots of the threads that they would start in groups and on their pages and things like that. And I was mortified. And this went on for quite a while. And I remember saying to my friend, I don't want to know. Don't show me. I don't want to know. Like, I just do not want to know. And I just I shut down. I shut down for probably a good 6 months, but it took me a lot longer to get over it than that, because it was, you know, they were going out of their way. They were messaging my clients and saying, you know, you really shouldn't be working with her. She's really shit. She rips people off. She's a fraud and stuff like this. It was just an absolute nightmare. But nothing ever happened. Like, there was nothing legal or anything like that. There was some threats of it and all the rest of it, but I knew they didn't have a leg to stand on, because I honored my commitments the whole way through. Anyway, so that was really a hard lesson, because up until then I'd been online, you know, my first online business was like 2003 or something like that. And I'd been online for such a long time, and I had never, ever, ever, ever had anything like that happen. And it really affected me to think that, well, it hurt me, because some of these people were people I was very close with. And it also was unjust, because there was, you know, as I say, there were people in there that I'd taken to 7 figures and things like that. And so it really hurt. It hurt that they all banded together and kind of ganged up on me. And so that, yeah, it took a little bit of going on over. So, but how I got over that was, I just looked at myself one day and I'm like, are you a victim or are you a badass? I'm like, well, I'm not a victim. But I just didn't want the drama, you know, I just didn't want to invite anymore. And somewhere in my mind, I looped up or linked up. If I show my success, if I'm successful and I show that, then it's going to invite the hate, like, and not just from strangers, but from people that I know really well. That's what shocked me the most. And yeah, so it was a pretty shitty time. But I remember Taylor Swift put that album out at the time, and there was the song Shake It Off was one thing. So I remember just like shaking it off. And then the other one was Look What You Made Me Do. And it was like, I'm making my comeback. And I just played that fucking song on repeat. And it's like, look what you made me do. And I just, like, that was my anthem. And I just fought back. You know, I fought back. I fought back in terms of, well, you know what, you didn't like that. Wait till you see what I'm going to show you next. And I learned a lot from that. While it was awful and I didn't sleep a lot at night and was just running things over my head over and over and over, and also asking myself, well, have I done something wrong? What did I do wrong? And, you know, really wanted to make sure that I was taking responsibility for anything that was my part. And honestly, there was not a lot that I could put my hand up and say, oh, I did that, other than just get excited about my life and bring this brand to life. And so, yeah, I just decided I'm going to have my comeback is going to be like badass. And I did. And I came back, and it's like, you know, they can throw whatever they want at me. I'm done with taking it, and I'm done with like standing for it, essentially. And so I came back, and then like it was about 2017, I think it was, I went into partnership with another coach, and we were overseas in the US, and she had this photographer who was an amazing photographer. I think she'd worked with Marie Forleo, who, you know, when B School first came out, and she was a very good photographer. And my friend had used her before, well, my business partner / we weren't really friends, but I thought she had a lot more integrity than she did. Anyway, so we had organized a day for the photo shoot to happen. And this other woman, like my business partner, is like, oh, I feel like we need to put it back a couple of days. And I'm like, no, well, what about the photographer? And she's like, oh, no, she's like, oh, no, she'll be fine. And I'm like, no, we need to leave it. And then like the next day or later that day or something like that, she's like, oh, no, she said it's fine because she's got a wedding anyway and she's got to stay longer and all the rest of it. And I'm like, okay. And then the day the photo shoot came up a few days later, and we couldn't get the same makeup artist because the other one was double booked, and it was an absolute shit show. And the photographer took me aside and said, I had to fly back. Like I flew back early. I flew back from my holiday early to do the photo shoot. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I didn't know. Like I did not know any of this because she was organizing it all. Anyway, then there was a big problem with the payment. My business partner's like, oh, she's put the price up and now she wants to charge us this and now she wants to charge us that. And I'm like, just handle it, like just handle it. She didn't handle it. And it, you know, the photographer went into a group and started talking about these dodgy people who didn't pay the freaking bill. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I felt bad and I reached out to her and, you know, tried to smooth things over, but she was so pissed off. And I don't blame her one bit. And those photos were so good. I still have a little cry when I think about it. She wouldn't even sell me the photos. I'm like, can I buy my, because there were a lot of us together and then there were some, I'm like, can I just buy mine, like my ones? And she's like, no, fuck the lot of you sort of thing. And I'm like, ugh. She's like, I'm deleting them now. And that was so amazing. Anyway, so that was pretty bad too, because I would never want to have the reputation of not paying my suppliers. Like I would never want that. I'm very good with my, like I have a lot of integrity in business. And so they were the two times where I felt like, you know, maybe I blew it out of proportion. They did feel like horror stories. I don't like people talking about me negatively, especially if it's not true, right? But because it's like, it's my reputation. I've been building this for a very long time, over decades, and my reputation is very, very important to me. I'm very protective of it. I'll do everything that I can to always operate, you know, with the highest level of integrity. And when those things happened, yeah, it was pretty stressful. But again, like with the photographer, I did everything that I could to try and smooth that over, and it didn't happen. She wouldn't have any of it. The damage was already done by then. And yeah, I just had to move on. You know, I had to realize there's nothing I can do about it. If people are going to talk about it, she didn't mention names, but, you know, it was obvious with the story that she told that it was me and my business partner who I ended ways with very quickly after that. But yeah, so you can bounce back. Like this stuff will happen. Maybe, but probably not. But if it does, you can handle it. And the reason I say that is I'm a very sensitive person. Like I haven't got a thick skin. You know, I'm very good at like being able to decipher and filter these days about, you know, why should I care about it? Like, should I care about this? And, you know, why is this triggering me and stuff like that? And I'm able to just go, okay, cool. And then I have to go inward and ask myself, am I operating within integrity? Like, you know, is there something that I need to, you know, own or whatever it is? And usually the answer is no. And because I know what my values are. I know how I want to operate in the world, right? And I operate that way. And so I don't leave a trail of stuff for people to talk about and dig in, right? And that's going to be the best thing that you can do. Operate within full integrity, whatever you do. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Deliver on your promises. Like, do the very best that you can for your clients and for the people in your world and all that sort of stuff. You know, if you've got a controversial kind of message, then you're going to have that stuff too, right? So you're going to have to just be okay with that stuff happening and learn how to navigate it. It's the world we live in, right? And luckily for us, we're adults. You know, we know that young kids have a lot of hater shit go on and bad things happen, you know, but we're adults. And so we can navigate this stuff. We have the skills to do that. And if we don't, we can go and get them. But honestly, those two things, but the first one particularly, it affected me very, very deeply because it's so unfair, I think was the biggest part of it. And it took me a while to get over it, but I did get over it and I came back and, you know, I'm now, I would like to say, like free and clear of it. Like I'm absolutely free and clear of it. And the reason that I'm free and clear of it is like I am even more conscious about the level of integrity that I have. I'm very much, yeah, more and more and more and more. And when you operate from that place, people can't say bad shit about you. They can disagree with what you have to say, and that's fine. People are allowed to have opinions, right? But if you're operating with integrity and you're doing what you say and you say what you mean and all those sorts of things, then you're going to be okay. But if you are dodgy, people are going to call it out, like they really will. And sometimes they'll call you out on it if you aren't dodgy, you know? because somebody didn't get a result because they're a lazy ass or whatever, and they want to blame somebody else, and they might be able to, bitch and moan about it, and they might be able to get somebody else to get on board, but it will die out if you are somebody who operates within integrity and all the rest of it. And mine did. It definitely did. It lasted for a little while, but I dragged it out. Like I was the one that let it go on for so long emotionally. I just, couldn't handle it. If it happened today, it would be very different. But back then, it was hard, but we can handle it, right? We can handle it. And the only reason I share those with you is because I don't want to encourage you to be visible and to show up and to go out and conquer the world on the internet and tell you it's all unicorns and rainbows, because I wouldn't be doing my job if I did that. I'm going to encourage you to go out there and do that, and just be aware that this stuff may happen, might not, right? And it may happen on a really small scale or something like that. But the reason that I'm sharing it is I want you to know that you can handle it, because if I can handle it, and I suck at handling stuff like this, anybody can. And that might surprise you, especially if you've been in my world for a long time. You'd be like, oh my God, that bothered her. But that stuff really affects me. I just do a really good job of carrying on anyway. So I still was showing up. I was still being visible, but I was like a freaking shallow version of who I was before, because I didn't want to trip up. I didn't want to offend anybody. And so I was like tiptoeing around on eggshells on the internet and like a toothless tiger. And that's not who I am, right? So it definitely had an impact. I still kept showing up, but it wasn't until I just decided, like, fuck it, I'm making my comeback, and like I just made a big move, and it's been fine ever since. All right. So let's talk about visibility and making money, because we want to be known and we want all those things. But like, one of the reasons that we want to be visible as a strategy is because it helps us make money. And if we want to be visible and we want to make money from it, we've got to be a little bit strategic about it. So firstly, know why you're showing up, right? So why am I doing this $10 masterclass, do you reckon? Not out of the goodness of my heart. I mean, yes, and I love to teach. You can see that, right? You can see I'm passionate about what I do. If I'm talking about a topic, it's because I'm really passionate about it. But I also want to tell you about my mastermind, and I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. I want you to join my mastermind. And this is one topic that I can talk to you about that segues into the mastermind. So that's why I'm showing up. That's why I'm doing this. And I'm already in the back of my mind, it's like, oh, I can just like catalog a bunch of these masterclasses, and then that can become something at some point. Because I'll probably do a masterclass a week or something like that. I'm going to change the times around, but I'm like, I love these masterclasses, and I'm not doing them for free anymore. And we're doing some ad campaigns and things like that. So the numbers will start to grow and grow and grow over the next 12 months as I do these. And that excites me. It feels good. So I know why I'm showing up, right? I know what I'm selling. I'm selling my mastermind. And I'm selling, that's pretty much it these days. You've got to know how to sell via your content. And so if you have a look at most of my posts, there's a call to action, whether it's a live stream, whether it's an Instagram post, whether it's a Facebook post, whether it's my podcast, there's always me selling, I'm always selling something. And you should, right? You should always be selling. You should be selling every single day. And if you're not, you've got to ask yourself, why not, right? And usually that's because you don't have a really clear idea of what it is that you're selling, and you don't know how to sell it. You don't know how to articulate the value. You haven't been able to pull it all together. So usually that will be why. Knowing how to sell via content. And you're going to see a good example of that in a minute when I start talking about the mastermind. But I'm also providing value, right? I'm providing value for you so that you can go away, whether you are interested in the mastermind or not, right? You can go away and you can watch this, and you can come back and watch it. You might have, a hater comment. You're like, oh, I remember Michelle said something about that in that masterclass. And you're going to come back and you're going to watch it again. This is going to be something that's going to enable you to get over the fear of resistance and go and start taking action. I'm going to show you how to do that next. But, you know, we want to provide value, because this is the way that we get to showcase the way that we teach and the things that we've got to, you know, got to say, and how we work and what information we provide and all those sorts of things. Visibility lets people know you, or you've got to let people know you, sorry. So we don't want perfection, right? We want people to know who we are. I've shared some stories here, said some things that, you know, give you a fair indication of my personality, right? And I do that online as well. I do that on my social medias and in my podcast and everywhere else. If you ran into me in the street, I'm the same person. I would be talking with the same speed, passion, all those sorts of things. I would drop the F-bomb like the same as I do now. Like, everything is the same. It's the same on my podcast. It's the same on my socials. So you're going to make a decision. Do you like me or not? Do you trust me or not? Do you think what I have is something that you need, and the way that I do it? You're making decisions, right? Whether it's my free stuff or this masterclass or whatever it is, you're making decisions, and that's going to help you make a buying decision down the track. And the more you're in my world and the more that I show up for you, the more you're going to get to know me, and you're going to be able to make good decisions about that, right? It's not going to be a shock to you if you come into the mastermind, for example, and I say, fuck, or I've got slides and I'm sitting there in the corner, or whatever, right? You're not going to be shocked. It's not going to be like, oh, she doesn't have slides in the mastermind, or I have do a face to camera here and then it's all slides. Like, I try to do content, especially stuff like this, the same way that I teach. And so, but I chunk it down, obviously. It's shorter. I don't go on forever in each lesson, but it's giving you an understanding of how I operate and the depth of my knowledge and things like that, right? That's what you want to do for your people as well. Then you've got to know what you want your people to do. So I know, like, I want my people in the mastermind. That's what I want. I want you buying these $10 masterclasses. I want them to help you to make a decision. And then I want you in my mastermind. That's it. I'm unapologetic about that, because it's the best fucking program on the planet for coaches. And then I want to talk about strategic visibility. So, like I said, like, this is a paid masterclass. If I was doing it for free, it would be the same. It's like, there's strategy behind this. I want you to spend time with me. I want you to understand how I teach, because I want you to make a decision whether I'm for you or not. And if I am for you, you're going to take action, and you're going to join the mastermind, right? Or work with me privately if there's a spot or something like that. So I'm strategic about it. The way that I'm posting my content at the moment is very much me, but there's strategy behind it. Like, in terms of the car post, which went off, like, which is crazy. And then there was another post that I wrote about 2 weeks worth of my Stripe notifications. And I said something like, Stripe notifications are sexy as fuck, or something like that. And it's like, I'm getting a lot of people talking to me and asking questions and inquiring based on that one as well. And they're very strategic. I want people to know, oh, she's making a lot of money. Basically, oh, I want to make a lot of money. She's making a lot of money. She knows how to do it. She can teach me how to do it. And that's the strategy, right? It doesn't have to be rocket science. It's simple, but all roads go back to the mastermind, essentially. So making money, know why you're showing up, know what you're selling. Like, don't show up and just make noise on the internet just to entertain people, unless that's your business, right? Have a reason, like, go in it knowing that this is part of your job and this is a strategy for making money. Like I said, it doesn't mean you'll do one post and someone will buy one thing. Like, it doesn't work like that, but it has an accumulative effect. It has a cumulative effect. Is that how we say it? And it just, the more you show up, the more people start to pay attention to you, the more people start to notice you. Then they start really paying attention, and you'll say something that hits the right note for them on that day, and then they'll take some action and they'll reach out to you, and you'll be able to have a conversation with you they'll be able to have a conversation with you and they'll become a client. So don't have this idea that you just got to show up and for the sake of showing up, right? It's not about ticking the box on being visible every day and then you're done. Like, you've got to have some strategy behind it. And the strategy is going to depend on your offer, your audience, all those sorts of things, right? So many different things. There are so many different strategies and ways that you can go about it, but just sharing a little bit of mine, but you've got to be strategic about it. Don't just show up to tick the box on it and just make some noise on the internet while you're figuring things out. You know what I mean? While you're trying to figure out what you're trying to sell and things like that. It just doesn't work. And people tune out. And then when you really have something to say, you've already burnt the bridge, right? So yeah, you'll know what I'm saying, right? Okay, so how do you get started? Let's make it easy, right? So you can make a commitment to this. So choose your medium. So I want you to think about, are you good on video and do you love video? Yes, good, go with video. Do you suck at video? Do you hate video? Do people want to pull their nose hairs out rather than watch you on video? Don't do video. You know, you get to choose. So if you want to do video because you're good at it, do video. And then there's so many ways that you can do video, right? If you like audio, you love listening to podcasts and you know people love listening to podcasts that are, you know, your potential clients and, you know, they're really hungry for a great podcast, do that. If you like to write and that's your thing, then start your blog and be posting on social, send out email marketing, like figure out what it is for you. So choose the way that you want to communicate. When I say medium, it's like, is it video? Is it audio? Is it written? Like, what is it? Choose that and then become an expert at that. Next, choose the platform. So if you love video and you think, you know what, YouTube is my place. Like, I love the vibe. I love the people that are hanging out there. They're going to be receptive to the type of stuff that I do. Go with YouTube. If you love the short form stuff and you know TikTok is where you need to be, then you go there, right? Whatever is drawing you in is more than likely going to be drawing in your audience as well, all right? So choose the way you want to show up, video, audio, whatever. Choose the platform and focus on probably one, right? And master that. Then you want to be clear on your message and you want to be clear on your audience. So who are your audience? Get intimate with the audience. Like, who are your potential clients? What are their deepest desires? What are the things that they're struggling with? What are their fears? Where are they at right now? What do they need help with? What have you got to say that you know would help them? Like, you've got to know your audience, and then you can craft your messaging around that. So you're going to have your offer, which solves a problem in the market, a specific market, and then you're going to have the audience that's engaged around that type of material, and your message has to like bridge that gap, right? So audience, end game, where you want them, and then the message is the bridge for the bit in between. So how do you get these people on the internet looking at all the different, Googles, all the things on the Googles, and then they start following you and they start seeing your content. That content is going to be the bridge that takes them to taking action, right? So you can't just go willy-nilly creating random messages that don't pertain to your end goal, all right? It's always got to pertain to your end goal somewhere. So you can map out your content or don't. But if you're just getting started and you're like, you know what, Instagram's my thing and I'm going to do lives. I'm going to do lots of face to camera stories and things like that. That's what I'm going to do. But especially the longer form stuff, you might do a masterclass like this, right? I like to map out content because I like to have structure and I don't want to forget anything. But if I was doing a live stream, I still go, okay, what's the point? Like, what is the thing that I want to talk about? And then I always have my dot points. It's like, don't forget this, this, this. These are basically the 3 talking points that I want to have. And then I hit live And I literally grab it, pen and paper. I'm like, what's the topic? This, like, what do I want them? It's like, what do I want them to feel, go away with, write that down. And then it's like, okay, so what are the 3 things that I'm talking about? 1, 2, 3, cool. Yep, live. And then I go. I'm not going to map it out word for word or anything like that, but I do want to give some thought to making it valuable, right? But you might be the sort of person that your people just couldn't care less, or you don't care less, and you're more random, and you know that you'll be able to manage your thoughts enough to add some structure to it so that there's value for your people. Completely up to you, whatever. There's no rule, right? And there's no right or wrong. You get to do it however you want. Yeah, and then just hit the live or the publish button. Just go and do it. The way that I do my podcast these days, I had an intro and I had an outro, and I'd do it in GarageBand and I'd edit, and I freaking hate GarageBand. It is so fussy. And so now I use the Anchor platform, and the Anchor platform sends it to Spotify, to Apple, to Google Play, whatever it is, like to all the places. And I have my microphone here, and I open the Anchor desktop like software. I log in. It's like, do you want to record a podcast? Yes, I do. I click the button. I speak. Do you want to save this? Yes. Do you want to publish it? Yes. And it's done. Like, I'm not stuffing around editing and adding the intro and the outro. I just made the decision that, you know what? Life's too short to be listening to intros and outros. So the first few have it and then they don't. And so, I just hit the publish button. And is it perfect? No. Could it be better? Probably. But I'd rather be prolific than perfect, right? I want my stuff out there. I want it being consumed. I want people listening to it. And so don't worry about fancy bells and whistles, especially in the beginning. I mean, you can if you want, but usually it's just a way to put it off, right? But just do those things. Pick your medium, choose a platform, know your audience, get clear on your message, put some dot points down if you want, and then hit the freaking button. Like, do it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. And then what I would love you to do is commit to doing whatever it is that you do for 30 days, whether it's write a blog post for 30 days, do a podcast every day for 30 days, do a Facebook live stream every day for 30 days, whatever it is, do it every day for 30 days. And then it is a habit. So my business blew up in 2015 because I did that. I did a blog post for 30 days. Everything went crazy. And it's like, I'm going to do this with live streaming. So I did it for 30 days. And then I did it for like 3 or 4 years where I just went live pretty much every day. And that grew my business. And it was the best thing that I ever did for my business. And that's why I'm so comfortable in front of the camera now. So if I were you, honestly, I would commit to 30 days. And people will say, I don't know that I'm going to have enough content. The more content that you do, the more ideas you have. I can be talking or writing something and like 27 other ideas are like birthing over here. So I'm making notes and things like that. But the more we show up and the more we create content, the more ideas come to us. And remember, perfection is boring as fuck. People don't want us to be perfect. They want us to be us. They want us to be real. They don't want perfection. Like, nobody wants to be a stepfordpreneur. They don't want to watch that. It's not fun. It's not exciting. It's not engaging. Go and have a look at the hot messes all over the internet. I love Celeste Barber. Like, I don't know how many million she's got following her now. It's like 10 million or something like that. And people love her because of her imperfections, right? And her sense of play around it. Bethany Frankel is another one. She was, from Real Housewives of, I think she was in New York City. And she's a hot mess on the internet, and people love her and they relate to her, and she engages with them like she's their best friend. And we have Mia Friedman here in Australia as well. I stumble across her videos some days and she's in her messy ass closet throwing different outfits on. They all look terrible. And everyone's like, yeah, wear that. No, don't wear that. And it's like, it's so cool. I wish I was that person. I'm not, but it's the coolest way to engage. And they love these people because they're not perfect, because they're human beings. And that's the most perfect thing ever. So Remember, you've just got to be you. That's all you need to do. But like have a point. Like there's got to be a point to you showing up. And I've spoken to you about those things. All right. So I'm going to give you a quick word about my mastermind, and then we'll do a quick Q&A. So if you haven't seen my mastermind yet, you must have been under a rock, because I'm talking about it every day. But the mastermind is my 12-month mastermind. And there are 3 levels. There's an entry level that at the time of recording this is $1,000 a month. If you're on the payment plan, it's $9,600 and something if you pay in full. Then there is the platinum level, which is, and that gives you, I'm not going to go into all the details. You can go and have a look at the sales page for all of the inclusions, but it's all group supported. And then the next level is platinum, and you get all of those things, but you also have a private session with me every single month and some VIP elements. So there's a 2-day retreat. You get to attend that. We have a virtual hustle day, which is a whole day where we just work together online. You get to have that as well. And that's $3,000 US a month. The paid in full is like 30 something. You have to go and look at the sales page. And then there's the VIP, which is $8,000 US a month. And there's a whole lot of bells and whistles with that. You get more time with me. You have Voxer support Monday through Friday, which is a little bit less than my one-on-one. My one-on-one at this point in time is $10,000 US a month. And that's just 4 sessions a month with the Voxer support. So the VIP, I want to make that VIP option of the mastermind very, very appealing, because that's where I want everybody. Like, I make no apologies. I want everybody in the mastermind. All right. So the mastermind's worth considering for you if you're ready to become a world-class, globally recognized coaching brand. Like, you're not here to fuck around. You are serious about taking this thing all the way. Now, it can be a coaching brand. It can be a consulting brand. It could be an online academy of some description where you're teaching what you know, right? If you're unsure that your business will fit my model, just get in touch, all right? And we can have a conversation about that. Actually, the replay for this, if you're watching this replay, you're going to see there's a button, a scheduler underneath, so you can schedule a call if you want to have a conversation about the mastermind. It's for you if you want to learn how to build a legacy brand that stands the test of time. If you don't know me, I have been coaching since 1991. I've been coaching and mentoring coaches since the late 90s. I've been online since 2003. Like, my brand continues to grow and evolve and expand, but it stood the test of time. A lot of the people that I started coaching with have jobs now. You know, there are not many people who have been in this game for as long as I have at a high level and continuing to grow all the time. I want to show you how to do that. If you're ready to step up and claim your niche. So the mastermind is about becoming an expert in a particular area. It's becoming the leading authority in your space, in your niche. So we don't want to be a jack of all trades. My people are specialists. So I want to show you how to really claim that space and leverage your position there. You're ready for a mentor to help you pull it all together. So typically people in my world, when they come to me, they've got a million different ideas and they're trying to do too many things at once. And they've got they're patching things together to try and make things work. And it's just a mess. So if you want me to show you how to start and build strategically, one step at a time, and pull it all together so that it feels smooth, so that it feels, what's that saying? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So it's like, it's going to be a business that operates like clockwork, and not just this clunky old clunker that's breaking down all the time, right? We're building a race car. You want to build a 7-figure coaching business in 2023. This is about getting you to scale as a leveraged business to 7 figures in 2023. If you love the idea of keeping it simple and doing it well, if that appeals to you. So we're not going to try and do a million things. We're going to build this elegantly simple model that continues to grow and expand and elevate and becomes more and more leveraged over time. And when I say leveraged, I mean you'll be working not a huge amount towards the end, but you'll be making a lot more money. You get to work as much or the least amount as you want to, but the idea is that for every hour you put in, like you're maxing out the earning potential because it's so leveraged. So of course I'm talking group offers and things like that, digital offers, whatever. Everybody's going to be different. There's no plug in and everybody follows the exact same model. It's very much bespoke based on you, your audience, and all the rest of it. And I'll guide you through that to make the right decisions. If you want tried and tested strategies that work, but there are different things that I'm trying all the time, new things. I'm always wanting to try new things. I want to stay relevant always, which can sometimes feel a little bit exhausting. So I now know how to manage what looks like a fad and what isn't, and when to jump in and things like that. But there are fundamentals. There are things that worked back in 1991 that still work today. And a lot of people aren't doing them because they feel like they're old school, or because they're so young, they just never knew that it existed. And so, yeah, tried and tested strategies, bread and butter stuff that works. And it's worth considering if you know you're good at what you do and you're prepared to become a master at it. The people that I work with want to become high-level specialists at what they do. They want to be incredible at delivering results. What else have I got? Yeah, so how to get started in the mastermind. So you will know if this is for you or not, right? There's a buy button on the sales page. If you're coming in at the entry level at $9.97 a month or under 10,000, you probably just want to click the buy button, right? But it's okay. If you feel like you want to have a conversation with me, you can message me, you can email me, or you can schedule that call. All right. There's even a form on my website, an inquiry form. You can send me a message there. Like, there's lots of ways to get in touch with me. If you signed up to this, you will know how, right? You can reply to the email that sent you this replay. But typically you're going to want to just enroll, right? I reckon even the platinum level at 3,000 a month, you'll know like if this is for you or not, and you can sign up, or you can have a call. I don't want to dissuade anybody from jumping on a call, because I want you to make a really good decision, and I want you to feel satisfied that you're in the right place and that my model is a good fit for the style of coaching or consulting or whatever it is that you do. I don't want to dissuade you, but I also don't want you to feel like you've got to get on a call. If you know this is for you, then just get on there. There is not going to be any discounts. There's no bonuses. There's no steak knives or anything like that. The product speaks for itself. We have retreats, we have hustle days, we have a destination celebration. There are so many things that we get to do within this mastermind, as well as build out this 7-figure business. We do it one step at a time. You're going to be guided and supported every step of the way, and we're going to have a lot of fun while you do it. I like to laugh. I like to have fun. I think it's important that we have fun. Oh my God, I've gone way over time. All right, so I can't see any questions in the chat box. If you have any, let me know. But I think I've covered everything. Yeah, so you'll have the scheduling thing on my replay page. Yeah, so it'll look down. It's just going to be there if you're watching the replay. The mastermind, you can join at any time. So I'm not doing a closed and open. It's a rolling start. So you can join the mastermind anytime. But the best time is yesterday, right? And if yesterday is not available, then the next best time to do it is today. I think that's it. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this masterclass. I want you to go out there, kick that resistance in the ass. Know that you are going to be the only person that can do you, right? So go out there and be the very best version of you. Show up. Your people want to hear from you. Be consistent. Do this and you will be successful. Your business will grow. You will make money. Be strategic about it. Follow all the things that I've said all I needed to say. That is it. Thank you for being here, and I will see you hopefully very, very soon. Also on the replay page, when you get to the replay, I'm promoting the next masterclass as well. So have a look at that one. It might be one that you're interested in too. Probably a different time though. All right, that's it. I will see you soon. Bye.